Alright guys, what is up? You are back for another video with DataZero. This is your weekly outlook prediction for stocks and crypto. This video is not financial advice, should not be taken as such. Please do your own research and due diligence for buying any stock or crypto asset. With that being said, let's hop in the charts fact data for this week, showing you what you need to know as a trader and investor for this week. So a lot of crazy stuff happened today, even though today in particular was a Sunday and only crypto was trading. So we saw Ethereum quickly break and hit a new all-time high. I saw this was happening and went and headed back and tweeted about it. We had this push to the upside, this bullish consolidation. That led me to believe that Ethereum could easily go to 4.9 or 5K, and you guys can see that it went to our price targets at $4,956.02 at the current all-time high here for ETH. Now, you guys might be wondering what happened shortly after that. We could have went into price discovery mode and took off. I'm going to talk about what potentially could have happened here for Ethereum and what happened here, why we saw crypto pull back here later in the video. Also, we have the potentiality of rate cuts coming here, having markets absolutely pump. I'm going to break this down in the stock market section. Futures were up massively here. We're seeing some pullback here a little bit as we speak right now, but futures were up massively, and I do think we could see some more pumpage to the upside, so we're going to break that down as well. And then also we need to talk about what these possible rate cuts could mean for AMC and GME. So let's go ahead and start breaking this all down. First thing we're going to talk about here is AMC and GME. Now, with the rate cuts coming into play here, you could potentially see big movement to the upside, especially in the small cap stocks and the mid cap stocks, which is what AMC and GME are, their mid cap stocks. A more risk on appetite could provide a better trading space for AMC and GME, and of course crypto as well, which I'll break down in the crypto section. But having capital be more easily accessible could be very, very bullish for AMC and GME. We see that we had that overall news when the Fed started talking about possible rate cuts coming here in the future. You guys can see we got this massive pump to the upside across the board on almost every asset. So basically you guys could see doesn't matter what you were holding at that time, basically got a big pop to the upside, as having more liquidity flow into the market and having capital will be more accessible is going to be bullish for multiple assets. So we have this push to the upside, this bullish consolidation, and this leads me to believe, and you guys can see that on both AMC and GME, this leads me to believe that AMC is going to be pushing up, in my personal opinion. You also can see that we're breaking out of this overall falling wedge here. You guys can see that we had a falling wedge here before. We made this low here, and we actually made a higher low here, which is very, very bullish. We have this falling wedge. In my personal opinion, AMC has bottomed, ladies and gentlemen. So we have seen the low. In my personal opinion, I believe that these lows here that we were achieving just a few days ago when the market was open, those are going to be the lows, and AMC is now going to break and hold $3 this week, and 100% in my personal opinion is going to be happening this week. And once we break and hold $3, you're going to see AMC start to push towards $3.15 and $3.25 pretty quickly, especially with this overall bullish setup that we have here with the higher low setup and the falling wedge breakout, especially after we got this nice pop to the upside here during earnings. Obviously they manipulated to the downside. They've been shorting heavily on AMC. We even have things like Fintel lying to us about the cost to borrow and the short interest. So this is why I'm using Chart Exchange now. I will not be using Fintel. As you guys can see, Chart Exchange showing short interest here at 10.65% here for AMC and 16.61% here for GME at time of recording. Cost to borrow remaining still relatively low. We definitely want to see that cost to borrow going up. Cost to borrow sitting at 0.55% here at AMC with 4.6 million short shares at time of recording. Now, this could change. They've been getting a lot of short shares. They've been shorting heavily, okay? Again, manipulating us to the downside. You guys can see ever since 7/20, pretty much all of August. These are the candles for shorting, the volume candles for shorting. You guys can see that it's just absolutely insane how much they've been shorting compared to what they were. You guys can see that the shorting is increasing and increasing and increasing. The amount of shorting and the amount of shares that they're borrowing each and every day is increasing. So again, that could change as early as tomorrow morning, but 4.6 million short shares here for AMC, 4.8 million here for GME. The cost of borrow at 0.39% here at time of recording. So again, AMC looking good in my personal opinion for a green week. I think we're going to push up above $3 and hold that. Also, more indications that this is going to be the possibility. You guys can see that we actually just got a buy signal here on the 2-hour or the 1-hour time frame, 2-hour time frame, and even the 4-hour time frame. Last time we had this buy signal for the 4-hour time frame, we got this nasty pop to the upside here. Once again, having that buy signal here for the 4-hour time frame, so we could see another push to the upside here for AMC. So I'm thinking we're going to see a pretty green week in my personal opinion here for not only AMC but the majority of the stock market and potentially the crypto market here as well, which I'll break down here in the crypto section. But again, I think across the board, based off of these potential rate cuts and people trying to front run that, even if the rate cuts aren't happening, okay, or even if the rate cuts were happening for a bad reason, and I broke it all down on stream what's really going on, it's still going to cause people to try to buy and front run that. So this is what we're seeing. So I think we're going to see green across the board for stocks in my personal opinion. We also have AMC with another bullish indication here. Bollinger Band starting to tighten up with green MACD on a 4-hour time frame. We're above the blue medium line, indication that we're most likely going to see a pop to the upside as well. So obviously, unless something catastrophic happened, I believe AMC is going to be breaking $3. And again, nothing is 100% guaranteed in the stock market, but I believe AMC is going to be breaking and holding $3 in my personal opinion. So I'm going to have to go ahead and go with a green week here for AMC, as it did close below $3 last week, $2.95, and it's going to be closing above $3 in my personal opinion this week, and that's going to give AMC a green week. Now, I do have potential price targets at $3.15 and $3.25. If we do hold those, we could go as high as $3.50, but that might be leading more into next week. Let's go ahead and see how this week is and how bullish this week is. But again, we could see as high as $3.15 or $3.25 in my personal opinion, and maybe even a peak of $3.50. That's where they would really start putting the pressure on it, because that's where we could start getting a gamma ramp and stuff like that, and calls going to money. So they really wouldn't want to see us above $3.50 in just 1 week after claiming $3 and $3.50. GME also looking bullish as well. Similar setup, except the Bollinger Bands aren't tightening up as much, but you can see they're definitely starting to constrict above the blue medium line. 4-hour MACD is green as well. If we go ahead and pop on the alligator showing that we're switching to bullish momentum. And then, of course, if we pop on the super trend and go ahead and run it back to the 2-hour, you guys can see, unlike AMC with the bullish on the 4-hour, as well, but GME with the bullish here on the 2-hour as well, getting this push to the upside. Overall bullish consolidation. This is a clear bull flag on GME. Push to the upside, bullish consolidation. What it's going to do tomorrow, in my personal opinion, is hold at $22.88 and then push up towards $23, holding and reclaiming $23, and that's why GME is also going to be having a green week as well. Closed below $23 last week. I believe this week is going to be a guarantee, in my personal opinion, that we're going to be breaking $23, and GME could potentially go as high as $23.50 or $4 in my personal opinion. Again, mostly based off of the bullishness from the rate cuts, but we also have potential rate cuts, I should say, but we also have a nasty setup here. Buy orders holding GME up. If it does come down, buy orders as high as 22.78, 22.79, coming down to 22.63. We do have these sell orders here as well, but those could easily be broken through. But we also have this bullish consolidation after breaking down here. We have this bullish consolidation. If we were to break above the sloping support and resistance, you could see a scenario where GME does push up towards that daily gap fill, which we do have a gap fill on the daily time frame, which will get filled, and you could see GME push up. And again, we're seeing weird things happen with people releasing articles about, like, saying GME is going to squeeze and stuff like that. So again, really strange market, especially normally when we're seeing FUD from people like Seeking Alpha saying GME is going to go to $30. What types of tricks do the shorts have up their sleeves? We don't know. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, I will keep giving you guys the news and predictions as they become available. I'm going to have to go for green week here for AMC and GME, as people are buying GME fundamentals are improving for AMC. As you guys can see, they're getting upgraded, and I personally went to the theaters and saw the theaters booming as well. And if you go to your theaters, you'll probably see the same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and go green week for AMC and GME. I gave you guys my price targets and stuff like that and short interest. Let's go ahead and move into SPY in the overall market, show you guys what's going on there, and give you guys some possible price targets and break down why I think this. So I think SPY is going to be heading to 648, potentially 650 this week, in my personal opinion. We have this gap fill to the upside, which is going to get filled. If SPY breaks like 647.07, holding that level of support, you're going to see a nasty pop to the upside. Again, bullishness from the potential Fed rate cuts is what we're seeing across the board. Again, you guys can see futures going back green here as the market starts to reset. So again, futures green right now. It's looking bullish across the board. We do have some potential data drops coming up that could shake things up, and some earnings as well, as Nvidia does have earnings this week, guys. So be ready for that. Nvidia earnings. I broke down and gave some projections on Nvidia earnings on the live stream. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but you definitely want to see Nvidia do very, very well in on the earnings with the numbers. If not, it could see a potential drawdown, obviously, if it doesn't beat. But even if it scrapes by the skin of its teeth and do a beat that way, you could see a little bit of drawdown. So you definitely want to see Nvidia get some decent numbers, as some of the technicals, which I broke down on stream, could see a pullback. Even if you did get a pop to the upside, you could still see an overall pullback. But I broke that down on stream. I'm not going to get into that too much here. Just be aware of Nvidia earnings. But mostly everything looks pretty bullish, in my personal opinion, across the board for this week. GDP is expected to come out. It's going to be based off the forecast and consensus. It's going to be higher than the previous, which is going to be bullish. That's going to be on Thursday. Durable goods, it's huge, but not that huge. That's going to be on Tuesday. I mean, it definitely could shake things up, especially since the last one was so bad. But it looks like we're going to do better than that. So it looks like that will even be bullish. As bullish as it can be. But the biggest thing is going to be GDP on Thursday. And then Friday, we have core PCE, which is pretty big as well. That looks like it's going to be okay. Personal income month over month and personal spending month over month. That's going to be on Friday as well. So that's the data drops that we do have to worry about. Biggest one's going to be GDP, in my personal opinion. And that looks like it's mostly going to be bullish for the market. That is going to be on Thursday, August 28th. Now remember, Nvidia earnings as well. That is going to be on Wednesday. That is going to be in after hours on August 27th. It looks like so far it would probably be bullish, in my personal opinion, but you could see some drawdown after that. Now, as far as what SPY and NASDAQ are going to be doing, again, I think you're going to see mostly upside, in my personal opinion. You have this bullish consolidation here on NASDAQ. You push up bullish consolidation here. Gap fill to the upside here on NASDAQ. NASDAQ's going to push for that gap fill. SPY is going to push for its gap fill. I think SPY is going to be heading for like 648, 650, possibly even. Again, and if SPY breaks 647.07, holding that support, you could see a nasty pop to the upside. What I'm expecting to see in the morning is probably a little bit of bullishness pre-market, dropping down, finding support. Possible support for SPY is 645.25 is one possible level, depending on where we start at. And then you're going to see a move to the upside, in my personal opinion, after it comes down to find support. But overall, I think you're going to see a little bit of bullishness pre-market, dropping down, finding support, and then continuing up. I will be live giving you guys predictions as they do become available, so make sure you guys like and subscribe. But as far as SPY is concerned, I think we're going to be seeing a green week, in my personal opinion. So that's what we're looking at for SPY in the overall market. Let's go ahead and move into BTC and crypto, show you guys what's going on there, and then we will of course wrap up this video. So Bitcoin getting a little bit of a liquidation event. Okay, we have some whales playing game, Binance playing games, little bit of liquidation event. Now this kind of paints it as something super bearish and saying that it's showing market fragility and stuff like that, but in my personal opinion, based off of the technicals here, you guys can see that Bitcoin really didn't do much. And yes, we did pull back hard and pull back quickly, but as you guys can see, we made a higher low than the previous low, breaking out of this falling wedge. We made a higher low. We found support and recovered relatively quickly. As long as Bitcoin doesn't break up below 109,500, I think we're looking pretty good in my personal opinion. So they're saying that, it's showing the market fragility. Me personally, I think it's whales playing game. And the good thing about crypto, everything's on chain. You can find these metrics. We saw Binance playing a little bit of games, kind of selling some Bitcoin, buying back. So again, whales do play games. Crypto is susceptible to manipulation, but it is able to be tracked and documented. But everything could be bought and sold by whales and manipulated. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. Now, Ethereum also made a new all-time high. Again, something I think is going on is they're trying to keep crypto from breaking out. You guys can see this here with XRP. XRP, they're using sell and buy orders to try to keep XRP pinned between like $2.93. You guys can see those green blocks there. That's all buy orders. And then they have these sell orders here at like $3.22 to $3.15, even as low as $3.10. So it looks like they're trying to keep XRP in this basically consolidation range between like $3, $3.10. It looks like they're trying to accumulate before it moves up because they know it's going to move up. They're trying to accumulate more before it goes up, maybe even have a little bit of pullback. That way they can get a little bit more before it runs up. Again, whales are greedy. They're going to play whale games, but it looks like the crypto market literally is in a forced consolidation phase right now. And if that is the case, as long as we don't pull back, you could see a nasty pump to the upside, because when it is held back like this and you have a lot of buying pressure build up, that could obviously get very, very explosive very, very quickly, especially if we do start to move up. Now, Ethereum is still looking very, very, very good, ladies and gentlemen. I think 5K ETH is definitely inevitable. We would have seen that possibly today if we didn't get that liquidation event. Again, ETH went and popped for that all-time high, and then we started to see that liquidation event here. And BTC started to pull back, kind of cause a chain reaction, bringing the altcoins back. But again, we are finding support right now. Want to see Bitcoin get back above 113,000 and really reclaim that level to make sure that we might not see a little bit more downside. But it looks like overall the crypto market is going to be recovering. ETH is going to be recovering. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But I would be aware that, again, this is just my personal opinion. It looks like the crypto market is definitely being manipulated into a forced consolidation right now. And we definitely should actually be higher at this point, in my personal opinion. So I think crypto's still on track for my predictions. I think overall Bitcoin could be in what's going to be basically a consolidation range where we consolidate. And then Ethereum and some other altcoins are going to start pushing up and start seeing some light and start taking some of the shine. If you go ahead and look at Bitcoin dominance, it is getting pretty low. Ethereum dominance is moving high, moving in those directions I told you what an altcoin season would look like. Bitcoin dominance moving down to 55.9%. This is some of the lowest levels that we've seen it in a long time, with Ethereum dominance this high accompanied as well. Ethereum dominance at 14.4%. I told you an altcoin season would be like 15 to 20%. Ethereum dominance, if not more. Bitcoin dominance down to 50 or 45%. We are moving in that direction, showing that Bitcoin could potentially consolidate, and we could start moving into an altcoin season where you see Ethereum pop off, Cardano ADA pop off, key altcoins really pop off. It seems like this is a fundamental rally. It's not a speculative rally. It's not a hype rally. This seems like it's a fundamental rally. So you really want to pick top crypto projects. Those are the ones that are going to perform best, in my personal opinion, especially if they have ETFs and stuff like that, which spot ETFs like Bitcoin and Ethereum have. Hopefully Ethereum gets one soon. It kind of seems like they're playing games with that as well, because as soon as Ethereum gets spot ETF, it's going to go absolutely insane. So it looks like whales are basically trying to have a forced accumulation here so they can get more crypto before it literally goes to the moon. Again, not financial advice. Maybe I'm too bullish. I don't know, but I haven't been wrong about BTC. I haven't been wrong about crypto. People told me I was crazy for thinking 100K Bitcoin. I called for 80K Bitcoin back in 2023, 2020. 2. So again, my track record is very, very good with crypto and altcoins. So again, you guys be the judge for yourself. Now, we also have Cardano ADA looking pretty good here. 4-hour buy signal, breaking out of this overall bullish flag, in my personal opinion, bull flag, or a falling wedge, but it's more of a bull flag to me. Looks good to potentially break towards 107. Maybe 125. And then of course, if Ethereum moves up to like 5,000 ETH, which I think is coming here soon, you could see Cardano ADA start to move up and other altcoins start to move up. And ADA has a long way to a new all-time high. We've seen Ethereum make a new all-time high. We've seen XRP make a new all-time high. Some of these coins are far away from that, and if they do start to pump, there's a lot of gains to be had. So Cardano ADA is one I'm looking at. Ethereum is one I'm looking at, obviously, as well. I have an ETH trade open right now for full disclosure and do hold ETH, but I am very bullish on these top altcoins, XRP and more. So this is your weekly outlook and prediction, ladies and gentlemen, for stocks and crypto. I appreciate you guys if you made it this far in the video, so people watching the end, and that helps me out immensely. And I appreciate you even more if you did watch us live. Thank you so much. And as always, y'all, make sure you have fun, stay safe, make money. Peace out.